Welcome to the new video about Knights Rebirth, and today, with all that amount of characters that we have here, that's right, it's time to make a tier list, where we're going to talk specifically about each one of them, and oh boy, it took me quite a lot of time, so I would really appreciate if you're going to hit the like button, leave the comment, share your own opinion, and if you're new to the channel, subscribe. So yeah, let's begin. So first of all, about the tier list, it's going to look different in comparison to what we have in many other games, just because here we can't really say that this character is OP and you're going to use it just everywhere and he's going to destroy everything, whatever is going to be the case, and the other character is going to be just a complete bullshit, which is not useful in any case just whatsoever. With all different types of modes that we have in this game, almost all characters that we have, they're useful in different cases and they're playing their role pretty much decent and well. That's why I'm going to make it in different way. We're going to have the list of all the characters, and in front of them I'm going to provide the modes, which they're going to be playable, which they're going to be decent, and I'm going to maybe share some information about them, my personal experiences and so on. So overall, this tier list based on my experience and on experience of other players from different servers, and yeah, this was a huge one. Anyways, I'm not going to take a lot of time. I will try to make it as fast as possible. Just we're going to talk specifically about characters, their strengths, and so on and so forth. We're starting with our characters. In comparison to many other games, actually in this game our characters are really useful in many cases, and you're going to stick with them up to very end. This is a nice aspect, not gonna lie, I'm enjoying this. And yeah, we're starting with Ivan, so overall great tank, and we're going to use him pretty much everywhere. In all type of modes that we have, I was able to use him pretty much successful. He is able to also provide stun immunity, normal adventure, nightmare adventure. I'm using him there as well, power up dungeon as well, when it's going to be the question about stun immunity or providing some shields and survivability. For raid, for example, for the dragon, he's useful for castle rush, certain stages where you have enemies with stun abilities. For infinite tower, the same reason. Sometimes there are stun characters and he is also providing shields, which is huge in terms of survivability. For Tower of Trials, he might be useful there. For Arena, many are using him, me as well. Next, Karin. Overall, she's not that useful in many cases, but she kinda have her own niche. In normal adventure, I found her kinda useful due to her healing abilities and revival effect. She's able to revive on her own. She is able to revive a single one character, which is nice addition overall. For power up dungeon, you can find certain stages where you might use her, why not? For Tower of Trials, actually an interesting aspect, because there are certain stages where you need to have units which are going to revive, and she might be useful there. For Yuri, overall she is alternative to Pascal, and until you're going to get him, you might use her. So you're going to use her as DPS and power up dungeon in the raid, and in some cases with the castle rush. Lee, actually a decent one character for real. In a normal story mode you can use him, especially when you don't have enough tanks or survivability. He might help there. For the castle rush, for certain stages, just to, you know, play such a taunt role and attract other characters to attack specifically him, this might be helpful. For the infinite tower, just the same reason, and also his ability to, you know, put character to a certain amount of HP, this is really decent. For Tower of Trials, he is really useful in certain stages, and I'm going to talk specifically about Tower of Trials and provide some guidances in the upcoming videos, but yeah, he's like a must there on the certain stages. You just overall great healer, and a really free-to-play friendly unit which is helping during a lot of battles and really useful for physical teams. In a normal adventure I was using her in Nightmare as well for power-up dungeon, raid, castle rush, infinite tower, tower of trials, arena, everywhere. She's pretty much useful in any cases. Ariel, so she provides burn immunity and you might use her in certain stages with the mage teams, like in power-up dungeons she might be useful, in raid teams as well. Against the dragon might be useful. For castle rush the same situation, for tower of trials pretty much similar when we're talking about Jupi. So she is going to be an alternative to Shane, and we're going to use her at the very beginning in raid, and you can use her in some power-up dungeons. She's not the best option, but let's say possible. If you're not going to see any characters actually on the list, it means that most likely you're not going to use them anywhere. Sniper, so only raid boss, basically. It's for Ox King and that's pretty much it. For Helenia, she is actually an interesting character which has a magical type of defense. She is not taking damage from them for quite some period of time, if I recall it correctly, and she might be really useful on certain stages for Tower of Trials, and she might be kinda good one type of a tank for arena, but it's questionable. Let's say if you don't have other options, it might be. Charon, great healer. The amount that he is able to heal sometimes is just crazy and insane. He is not able to revive, unfortunately, but also he is providing bleeding immunity, which is really helpful, especially on late stages, to be honest. But yeah, for the normal adventure, for Nightmare, useful in some power-up dungeons, you can use him as well. For Raid Ox King, he is mandatory there, no questions about it. For the Tower of Trials, he might be useful, again, on certain stages. For Victoria, overall she is providing paralysis immunity, and this is her main reason to use her, let's say. You're not going to in many cases use her skills because you have other characters which you have priority to them, and she kinda boosting magical attack, but I didn't really face a lot of cases where I'm going to use her skill, so she is most likely for the paralysis immunity. Normal adventure, Nightmare adventure, there are certain stages. For the power-up dungeon, you can use her as an additional support, let's say, and yeah, she might be useful there. For the raid, for Iron Dwarf, no questions, she's a must there. Joker, overall there are not many cases where you're going to use him, but for power-up dungeon he is a must because he's able to spam with his skill, and for the light one dungeon you're going to use him there. For the Castle Rush, there are certain bosses, if I recall it correctly, which require you to use his spamming abilities, so you can use him. He's not really mandatory there, but it's like an option. For Tower of Trials, there are certain stages where you need to spam attacks, and he might be helpful there as well. There's a free-to-play option, let's say. Lucy, great supporter, great healer, and she is able to remove debuffs, she is able to heal kinda decent, provide defense, so really a versatile character, usable in any cases in all type of the content. For Leo, he's providing death immunity, most likely it's the main reason, let's say. For the power-up dungeon, it's about death immunity. For Castle Rush, death immunity. Infinite Tower and Tower of Trials, there are quite some stages where you can face opponents who are really annoying in terms of death effects, and he might be helpful there. Feng Yang, overall kinda decent DPS unit, and you might use him as a DPS unit on certain stages in Castle Rush. For normal adventure he might be helpful. For Nightmare, I consider him more as a support with certain stages where it's required to have, like, you know, freeze immunity. I'm not sure that is going to be mandatory, but from what I've seen, maybe it's the case. For power-up dungeon, freeze immunity, that's the main purpose. Jin, he's providing silence immunity, and this is a huge aspect. For Nightmare Adventure, it's really going to be important. For Castle Rush, the main reason. For silence immunity, Tower of Trials, the same reason. Asura, she's able to provide such an ability for all the team to target a single one enemy opponent. So for the raid, she's going to be great. For Iron the War, because specifically there she's going to help until a certain stage, let's say, to target exactly the one hat which is going to receive the most amount of damage. For the Castle Rush, there is also a certain stage where you need to target specifically one character, and she might be helpful there. For Tower of Trials, probably the same case. I saw that some people were using her on certain stages, but I'm not sure what it was specifically about. Not sure about it. Anyways, Cleo, she's providing also silence immunity, that's why we're talking here about Castle Rush and Tower of Trials. Black Rose, only raid. She's providing Petrify immunity. She's able to remove buffs from opponents, from multiple of them, like from 5 I guess. So for example, I didn't add it here, but right now with Tower of Trials, there are certain effects which you can activate, and they're going to provide Petrify effect to your team to get an additional medal. So you kinda need her to use there, but it's not really mandatory. For Chloe, her main reason is going to be about the shock effect immunity, and it's a huge one aspect. Later stages, Infinite Tower, Nightmare, Tower of Trials, a lot of CC characters, and really annoying in terms of shock effects, so she's a must. Like for Nightmare, for Power Up Dungeon, for Castle Rush, Infinite Tower, Tower of Trials, it's all about the shock immunity. Noho, actually an interesting character. She has such an ability, the same as Lee, to put HP to a certain level, so you might use her in a Nightmare Adventure, in a Castle Rush, on a certain stages she might be useful. Yep. Now we're going to Legendary plus characters. Me personally, I don't have any of them, and I know that just for some type of content they're kinda broken. And specifically right now when we're talking about arena, it's just sometimes really crazy shit, but they're not, let's say, a really meta there, but they can be kind of strong. Overall, the modes which you're able to use them pretty much successful, and they're going to be really that helpful and decent, are going to be both types of adventures. In Infinite Tower, they're like for these modes, in some cases like specifically for Tower of Trials as well, and Faishi can be useful in a Castle Rush on certain stages. But yeah, about them, that's pretty much it. Not many players have them, and it's like pay to win aspect right now. Later on we're going to have some of them. Going to Legendary Plus, Kagura, the brand new character which we received during this update, and she is a decent support for physical team. I'm using her right now in pretty much every type of content with Tao. She's pairing with him really great. For normal adventure, for Nightmare, she's really helpful. With her CC abilities, they're really decent, and I mean she's able to apply a Petrify effect to the whole team of enemies. Cooldowns are really fast, and she's able to reduce healing effects. So whenever she's going to die and revive, she's going to provide additional physical damage increase, which is also really great. Critical damage increase, so a really decent one support unit. For Infinite Tower, in this case, she's great there. For Tower of Trials as a C character, and support for Teo, for Arena as well. But yeah, I think she's just great unit. I don't have here the other one new unit which is supposed to be for Guild Wars, because I didn't get her, and there is not that much information about her right now. Whenever we're going to receive guild wars, and if I'm going to have her, probably this is going to be like an answer if she's worth it or not, how strong is she there. So yeah, I didn't add all the available modes in the game because we don't have access to them right now. So we're talking about the most important. Rudy, overall great tank, and he is able to increase defense for the team, providing, let's say, such an ability to first of all remove all debuffs, and secondly it's going to distribute all the damage which you're going to receive to no matter what kind of character among the whole team equally, which is nice and sometimes helps to survive quite problematic stages. So yeah, for survivability he is great. His skill, the other one, like a damage one, he's able to stun, and you know, I have a feeling that stun immunity doesn't help for opponents at all. He's going to stun like in any cases. And also he is able to reduce the time for a certain effect, so whenever someone is going to revive, like Tao, we're talking about such type of revive, and he's going to use the skill. First of all, he's going to target the opponent which has the highest amount of buffs on him, and he's going to kind of finish, in this case, as an example, Tao, which is nice, really helpful. So yeah, for normal adventure he's helpful as tank, nightmare for sure, infinite tower, tower of trials, arena. He's really useful, and the tank composition might be a really great one there. When we're talking about Aileen, so she is a really one annoying CC character with her shock effects. I hate her on arena, I hate her in infinite tower. She's just such a freaking pain in the ass, and with this she's actually a grade 1 support unit overall with all of her CC abilities, which are just crazy sometimes. For normal adventure, nightmare, infinite tower, and arena. Actually, for tower of trials, it feels like she's not really that great. Maybe she might be useful, but not, let's say, like a must there. Rachel, so her ability of defense down and providing certain amount of support, they're kinda great. That's why for some power-up dungeons you can use her for raid, for the dragon, and the castle rush. Overall, that's pretty much the modes which are going to be the best fit for her. I know that many are using her in arena, but she's not a meta there, to be honest. For infinite tower, for tower of trials, she is not going to shine there as well. So about Delance. Overall, he's providing silence effects, and he might be really annoying. In certain cases he is able to deal decent damage, and yeah, silence is not like an extremely OP debuff, but you're not able to use skills. Still, your characters are going to act and deal some damage, but you won't be able to use skills. So yeah, and it's lasting for like 3 turns, I believe. So yeah, a decent one. For normal adventure, nightmare, for arena, pretty much useful, and for physical team he is great. For the spike, he's providing freeze effects, and he can deal kinda decent damage sometimes, but freeze effect, it's not really great, I would say. Whenever you're going to receive certain amount of damage, the freeze effect is going to disappear. So yeah, you might use him in infinite tower and in arena, but I can't say that he is really strong. I might be wrong, but these are my feeling right now. Now about Jave. So he's a CC character. He's able to provide burn effects, and he's able to stun everyone, like it's 5-man AoE. With that being said, he is actually going to be great for arena, He's going to be a great support in Infinite Tower, and for adventures he might be helpful there as well. About Chris, he's an interesting character and he is able to provide death effects, but he really requires a lot of work, and I mean really proper gears, and also a really important one, partner. Without him he's not going to be really that great, and he's going to be really useless. Even you're able to use him on arena with certain conditions, he is really helpful in Infinite Tower, he's really helpful in hard stages with adventure, but again you need to pair him with Nox, and about Nox we're going to speak a little bit later. For Vanessa, another one CC character and might be also a support character for the mage team, so you can use her in all type of contents because she's able to increase the cooldowns of skills for opponents. She's able to apply petrify effect. Yeah, it's not like for the full team like in case of Kagura, it's 4 characters, and I believe for the cooldown it's only 3, but still it's decent. Whenever you're going to increase cooldowns of opponents, it's going to be sometimes a really freaking mess, insanity, and really painful for opponents. Mercur, broken character overall, really strong with his unique ability of reflex effect, which is going to spread among all the opponents. That's why even your support units, if you're going to use him in a certain mage composition, are going to deal kinda decent damage thanks to this effect. That's why he is really that helpful on later stages in normal adventure, nightmare adventure, in Infinite Tower on higher stages, in Tower of Trials as well, and for arena especially. Like for the late game, let's say he is one of the top priorities overall for different types of content. When we're talking about Colt, overall the only way which I saw using her is going to be arena. For arena she's a really decent one addition for a physical team, and with her bombs she is really sometimes annoying with the amount of damage that she is able to deal with these bombs. That's freaking insane. But overall, outside of it, I can say that she's really useful in any other type of content. Platin. He is all about himself, and they're kinda unique and really interesting team compositions with him being in the first row, and he's really decent for arena. Yeah, the way how he's able to heal himself and kinda tank, it's an interesting one, and there he might be a really one broken and almost undestroyable character. So yeah, but again he's mostly for arena and Infinite Tower, the only way you're going to use him, pretty much it. Yeah. Ace. For the normal adventure he's actually not that great, but for nightmare adventure you might use him with a certain team compositions. Whenever it's going to be the case, the main reason that he's going to provide defense down as a passive, this might be helpful. For arena, the same reason, and also his skills, they're able to work the same way as from Rudy. Whenever he's going to hit, for example, Teo after revival, he's going to just destroy him, and Teo won't be able to cast his skills and so on and so forth. Rin, she's a mage, let's say some kind of a DPS unit and support unit. Overall, sometimes I saw her dealing kinda decent damage. First role I believe is a support, but yeah, she's providing a confusion effect which is kind of affecting the amount of damage basically which we're going to deal from our characters. It's only for a single one hit, but sometimes it might be a really annoying process when you're kind of getting your skills up and you're casting them and they're not working properly. So with this, she might be actually a really interesting one character for both types of adventure, for the Infinite Tower and Tower of Trials, and for Arena as well. I saw her kind of a lot on Arena. She's able to revive as well, so this might be really annoying sometimes. Theo. I believe there is no introduction needed. Great farmer, great character, great DPS unit. He is all about the farming adventures. You might use him in Infinite Tower up to really high stages. I'm at 120 and overall I was using him a lot, really. For Tower of Trials as well, on early stages at least, I'm using him. For Arena, no questions about it, but yeah, later on it seems like a little bit of a problem to use him. He's dying too fast. Even he, the same as Tao, great farmer, also providing sleep effect from her first skill. She's able to deal decent damage, and overall she requires to work on her dupes, but she's decent for the same modes and for the same reasons as Theo. Karma, pure character as a DPS in a certain team composition for Arena. There is nothing else to say, but he is in one of meta team compositions on Arena. You can use him there. He's really decent. I got him actually, and I am really working right now on building certain teams which are going to be that important for PvP, let's say. They're focusing specifically on PvP, and Karma is no exception. You might use him in some other modes, I guess, but he mostly is going to shine on Arena. Orly, to be honest, I have her and I have no idea where you're going to really use her. I saw from some top players which are playing in a total war, there is some team composition where they're using her as one of the main DPS units. I have no idea how is this working, but by my understanding she is not really that useful. She might be kind of supportive character in Infinite Tower, but I didn't really use her, so there is nothing that I can say about her, to be honest. When we're talking about Klahan, another great DPS unit in the physical team and a great farmer. So for normal adventure, for nightmare adventure, you most likely going to use him as a farmer, and for nightmare he is working way better there in comparison to a normal adventure. It's just because of the way how stages are working there and his skills overall. For the Infinite Tower he might be as an additional, let's say, DPS unit, and I was using him kinda a lot in pair with Theo. For Arena the same thing, but he requires working on his dupes to really be decent on Arena, because otherwise he has no survivability whatsoever. He's going to die really quick. Sylvester. I actually have no idea about this character, but from what I discovered, some people are using him in normal adventure, in nightmare adventure, and for Arena, but he is not really that great or OP or something like that. He has something like life drain and AoE chain attacks, or no idea, but from what I've seen he is not too good of a character. Biscuit, great support unit, really decent, useful in pretty much all type of content, and I'm even using her on the certain stages in adventure, even with the fact that she's not going to provide bonuses like for boss damage, yeah, but she's able to still provide weakness effect increase and defense down from her passive, and this is actually sometimes really huge. For power up dungeon, pretty much everywhere, raids pretty much everywhere, for the castle rush everywhere, for infinite tower I'm using her sometimes, especially for let's say boss stages, which are like 10, 20, 30 and so on. You got the idea. For the Tower of Trials, for certain stages, she's really important there. So yeah, great character, and if you're going to work on some of her skills, trying to enhance them and bring her to T2, she's going to be even more powerful. Now we're going to legendary characters, and here I'm going to go through as fast as I can. Taka, Castle Rush, and that's pretty much it. The main reason to use him. Miho, she's able to remove debuffs at T2 and increase weakness hit effect a little bit, but sometimes it might be helpful. So Castle Rush, yeah, that's pretty much it. Velka, after reworking, she is really crazy and decent. She's able even farm Nightmare. She can be kind of a good 1 DPS unit. She's not the best among all of them, but she's really decent. For Infinite Tower and for Tower of Trials, she is just crazy there. The way how her passive is working and the way that she is actually reducing the cooldowns for all allies from her basic attacks, this is insane. She's increasing magic attack. She's also able to provide damage received by magic attacks for opponents, which is a nice addition. And there are certain stage which I was able to complete in Tower of Trials only thanks to her. So she's really great right now, and I'm using her really. For the Rook, overall a good tank, and with his barrier effects, and actually he's able to deal decent damage from his skill, which is sometimes going to be really annoying, but yeah, you're able to use him as your main tank in both adventures. In Infinite Tower he might be helpful, in Tower of Trials as well, and for Arena, for tank composition, he might be really that great. For Chancellor, well, overall about his usability I'm not really that familiar, but he has mischance debuff and also passive defense debuff. So he, I believe, going to be a good addition in a team composition with tanks, if I recall it correctly. Maybe in some other teams as well on Arena. With this fact, he also might be a good fit for Tower of Trials, but yeah, kinda really niche character. I don't really have him, so I'm not that familiar with him, but from what I've seen, these are like two modes where he's going to be kinda useful. For the Alice, actually a great healer, not gonna lie, and I am planning to work on her in the nearest future. I have her T2, I guess, or T1, I don't remember. She is really good for PvP, and specifically for that one tank composition. You can use her as a decent healer and supporter for the both adventures. She's able to provide also defense increase. With the same case for Infinite Tower, for Tower of Trials, she might be useful there, and overall a good one, great supporter, great healer, decent, really decent. And certain stages actually where you have her as an opponent, she's really that annoying in combination with a lot of other healers, so yeah, it's a whole story. Now we're talking about Aragon. Why you see nothing here? Well, because I have no idea where to use him. I have him T1, and even with that fact, I don't know where he might be useful. This is probably the only one legendary character which is not useful in any cases. He is not providing like a lot of support for the team. Yes, he is able to stun up to 3 opponents, but there are characters who are able to stun better, so I don't know. Rudy. mostly for Castle Rush. She's useful on some days and she's really great there. I was using her for quite some time for normal adventure. She might be like an additional DPS unit for nightmare adventure, but not too great. Well, let's say you're going to switch her really quick. At the very beginning she helped me, and after all I'm using her in a Castle Rush, so she's great there. Nia, it's like, let's say, a budget one CC character. She might be useful in different types of content, but overall later on probably you're going to switch her. She's able to provide shock effects, she's able to increase cooldowns of the skills, but it's not like something really as a good fit in a lot of different teams for different modes. And again, probably you're going to switch her with some other characters later on, but with the fact that she's SSC and she has a shock effect, which is really annoying, you can use her in these types of content. And first of all, she's going to be really helpful on certain stages, that's for sure. Espada, there is no introduction needed for the raid purposes only. A great DPS for the Ox King. Outside of it, most likely you're not going to use her anywhere. But yeah, she's for the Ox King, she's really decent there. For the power up dungeon, against certain bosses, she's also going to be a decent one character. Shane, you're actually able to use her a little bit more ways, and she's also like for the dragon the main DPS there, but for the normal adventure maybe on the certain stages you're able to use her because of amount of damage that she's able to provide, and also overall her fast cooldowns and ability to counterattack. For the power up dungeon on certain bosses she might be useful. For Tower of Trials actually on certain stages she's really important there. For the Castle Rush, for certain stages you can use her as the main DPS. Sig, stun immunity, let's say some kind of a tank, and you even can use him in raid where you need a stun immunity. For the Castle Rush is a stun immunity again, and for power up dungeon. But yeah, that's pretty much it about him. Not too great of a character, but you can use him. Overall not bad. For Ballista, so she might be helpful in arena. She has camouflage, and this ability is actually sometimes really that annoying. For the physical team she might be a good fit there, but outside of it, nothing special. Lina, great character, great support unit, great healer, increasing crit damage, reducing defense, providing a lot of utility and useful in any type of content. There is nothing to say about her. You can use her pretty much everywhere. For Daisy, she is, let's say, advanced character, the same as Rose, Black Rose. Like you're going to use her on Ox King with the mage team. She is a decent support unit for mage composition in this boss specifically. She is also able to remove buffs from opponents, from multiple of them, like from 5, and she able to improve performance of, how's your name, Espada, by a lot. Yeah, for Castle Rush, when you need to remove the buffs from opponents. Yushin, really annoying CC character. The only thing that he is providing paralysis effect from one skill to all enemies, from the other skill I believe to 3 enemies, and I started to use him. Really annoying. Only downside, let's say, that this effect is working for only 2 turns, and sometimes you want it to work for 3 turns as the shock effect from Aileen, but it is what it is. Overall, he has damage immunity for a certain amount of turns, he is able to really help with control, and he helped me to progress really a lot in Infinite Tower and Tower of Trials on certain stages in normal adventure, and he's even helpful in Nightmare Adventure with the fact that he is really annoying CC character. For Arena you can use him pretty much straightforward. Biram, she went through some rebalancing, I guess, and she is a decent one DPS unit on certain stages in a Castle Rush. You might use her there, even for power-up dungeons, but I'm not sure if she's really that useful in some other cases. With Pascal, actually a huge one and really decent nuker, just a freaking atomic bomb, really. He helped me clear certain stages in normal adventure. In Nightmare Adventure I believe you might use him there as well in certain stages. For power up dungeon you can use him in every one of them. For the raid, Iron the War, for the Castle Rush, certain stages where you're going to use him as the main DPS, and it's exactly today, was Sunday in the Castle of Death. Crazy nuker. For Infinite Tower he helped me to clear a lot of stages really, which are really painful. For Tower of Trials actually his value is increasing there drastically on the certain stages. Like really, he's amazing, not gonna lie. And here we go, Nox. He is, let's say, tank. He's really tanky unit. He is able to increase death effects for all the rest of the team. That's why you're going to use him with Kreese, and from his passive he's going to increase probability of proccing death effect for Kreese by a lot. That's why he is like a must for this death team composition. With this case, whenever you're planning to build yourself a death team, you're going to use him with Kreese, and that's why he might be really useful for both adventures, for tower, both of them, and for arena. And again, you really can build yourself a death team, and with their unique abilities and some kind of spamming effect, you can clear certain stages really fast, no comparison to others, especially tanky compositions which are not dying at all whatsoever. They're great, but they require a lot of work. With that being said, I believe we've finished with all the characters which we have in this game, and I hope it's going to give you a better understanding of the utility for different characters and where you're going to use them. But yeah, additional information about certain characters, for example in a Castle Rush, you're able to get from the strategy. It provided like a little bit of an explanation what bosses are doing there and which characters the game is suggesting you to actually use in this specific case. With that being said, hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe again, leave a comment, and see you guys in the next one. Take care.